Sicilian defense, open, accelerated dragon, Maroczy bind formation, 5, BG76.B3 NF67.B3NF670.OOBD710.QD2NXD411.BXD4BC612.F3. Sudden a close game that was lost by a mistake. Black got the better of white in that game. Both players had an amazing opening. Sharp games are frequently the result of starting with the king's pawn since it dominates the center and frees up the bishop and queen on the light squares. The c-pawn in the Sicilian defense controls the d4 square. Nf3 moves the knight toward the center in anticipation of a pawn push on d4, where it will be ready to retake the piece if black captures on d4. Nc6 aids in maintaining control over the d4 and e5 squares. d4 offers to trade a center pawn for the c5 pawn in exchange for more control of the center and quick development. Cx-d4 gives black 2 central pawns versus 1 central pawn for white. Nx-d4 recaptures the pawn and activates the knight in return for having 1 central pawn versus black's 2 central pawns. g6 prepares to fianchetto the dark squared bishop on g7, where it will sit on the long diagonal. c4 obtains room on the queen side and center and gets ready to advance the knight to c3. Fianchetto move bg7 places the bishop on the long diagonal. b3 develops the bishop toward the center and protects the d4 knight. nf6 develops the knight toward the center, attacks the e4 pawn and prepares castling. nc3 develops the knight toward the center, protects the e4 pawn and controls the d5 square. Castling gets the king out of the center and activates the rook. b2 develops the bishop and prepares castling. d6 supports the e5 square and allows the light-squared bishop to develop. Castling gets the king out of the center and activates the rook. bd7 develops the bishop toward the center and supports the knight on c6. qd2 develops the queen, connects the rook and creates a battery with the bishop along the c1h6 diagonal. nx-d4 trades black c6 knight for white's central knight. bx-d4 recaptures the knight on d4. bc6 attacks the pawn and places the bishop on the a8h1 long diagonal. f3 protects the e4 pawn and controls g4. This offers to exchange pieces of equal value. This mobilizes the knight, allowing it to control more of the board. This develops a rook off its starting square, getting it into the action. This threatens to take an outpost with the knight. This protects the attacked pawn. It is the last book move. The game was close to equal, but now black has the advantage. It is a mistake. Sudden a close game that was lost by a mistake. Black got the better of white in that game. Both players had an amazing opening.